I believe I won that fight. I believe he won a few of the rounds, but I won majority of them. And I believe it was, what can you do, one of them things, decisions in boxing. We both put on a good fight, best we could do. His country's at war, so people are siding with the country at war, but make no mistake, I won that fight in my opinion, and I'll be back. I've got a rematch clause. Happy New Year!
No one's interested and it doesn't make any money, so what would I want to fight him for? It's a small cruiserweight, a foreigner, don't speak good English, and nobody's really interested anyway. He's not setting anything alight. I want the big fights that people are interested in, and that ain't one of them.
What if he was to beat Joshua?
Still, it won't be a big fight. He's still a foreigner in a westernised world. The belts are back in the West, and they're going to stay there. And so whatever it sounds like, the heavyweight champion should be from Britain or America, nowhere else. That's it. Because maybe in Ukraine he might be a big star, but the Britain or America ain't interested in some Ukrainian boxers boxing in Ukraine, and that's the way it is. It's a small cruiserweight, a foreigner, don't speak good English, and nobody's really interested. Come and meet me face to face. I'll eat Frotch alive and I'll eat Bellew alive. And by the way, Bellew got his ass handed to him by a bantamweight. When he was young, called Michael Gomez. Michael Gomez flattened him. My mate from Manchester, Michael Gomez, Michael Armstrong flattened Bellew. And somebody else I'm not going to mention. No, listen. Let them men do what they do. The YouTubers, they like talking behind the camera. They want to come and see me. I'm here, and I'm ready, and I'm stepping back from no man, no matter who they are.
You've all seen the conduct of this low-life, bully-boy tug, John Fury, today. For those of you that haven't, watch this clip.
When a man comes to compete with him, I'll let you know. I've not seen him yet.
To take this opportunity to apologise on behalf of the boxing world to the Saudi royal family and to the people of Saudi Arabia who have welcomed the Fury family into their wonderful country, and also to the people of Ukraine for the conduct of this scumbag. I will take great pleasure in smashing this man to bits if he ever has the courage to climb into the boxing ring with me. The world wants to see manners put on this man, and I am the man to do that. The week of your son's biggest fight of his life, John, and you conduct yourself like this. Crawl back into the rodent hole that you came out of.
Usyk has to bring something that we haven't seen before. I've watched him do AJ, I've watched him that twice with him, I've watched every heavyweight fight he's had. That can't beat, he cannot beat the Gypsy King. Not on this form, not on this mindset. Career lightest, he's looking well, mean. You'll see on Saturday night. The Gypsy King will remain supreme and the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the Gypsy King. He's the best in the world when people start saying this and saying that. Because when I was in amongst them, all I could hear was badness. So at the end of it, some little idiot come forward on who he was in my space. He got what he got, and that's the end of it. It happens every other week for me, that. You fool! Show some respect! What's the hell? Is that not stupid getting someone's face, you fucking fool? Put a plaster on these now! Get it, son! That was not us. I just say this first and foremost, I am sick of hearing about Anthony Joshua. I've upset every man in the world by saying Anthony Joshua is a tune-up fight. He's a good fighter, good boxer, but he's not an excellent, brilliant fighter. My son is, and I'm just speaking facts. We're ducking from nobody, especially a man we know we can beat. You know, we know Tyson can beat him. You know, unless there's a 6'8" or 9" crossbred Muhammad Ali with Floyd Mayweather on all the greats, Ernie Shavers, Marvin Hagler's all into one, they're not beating my son. Face facts, people. He can be a sensation on the YouTube like all these Jake Pauls and everybody else, but can he beat Tyson? No, he can't. The stats are there, the facts are there. You know, Tyson will walk straight through him because that's just how it is. Because Tyson's a brilliant, great fighter in the making. And he's been through a lot. Do you think where Tyson's come from and been through, he's going to be bothered about fighting Anthony Joshua for 250 million quid for a 2-fight deal? I can't wait. Don't get me wrong. The money don't come to me. I live in a broken down house. I drive a broken down car. I don't give a shit about money. Money has only made me very unhappy. Money's destroyed my family, so I'm not bothered about money at all. Let them keep the money and all the glory that goes with it. I just want to prove people wrong. I've never been proved wrong yet. He will destroy Anthony Joshua. If it wasn't for Tyson, my son, Anthony Joshua would be champion for a long time. But he can't beat my son. And come fight, when the fight gets closer, he's going to need Paul McKenna, because he's going to fall to pieces in every way, shape or form. You know, he's going to do an Humpty Dumpty 3 or 4 times over in a worse fashion.
John, obviously before it's been spoken...
Like dropping a porcelain vase from a 100-feet tower block. Time it's the floor, there's not going to be much left of it, is there? And that's Anthony Joshua. When he faces the great Iron Man, Gypsy King, what can't be beat. We cannot be beat in that ring. My son can't be beat. He can't be beat. And I will bet Eddie Hearn as much as he wants. Eddie, you want to bet? I ain't got no money. My son's got 250 million quid in the bank already. I'll borrow a bit off him and I will bet you what you want, pal. Put your money where your mouth is, and as game as they come, the outcome will be one man, one king, Tyson Fury. That's the name. Take it and shove it at my backside, because get used to it, because that's the way things are in the future. Tyson Fury, undisputed. No problem. All I can hear is ducks farting left, right and centre. The lot of them. Bob Arum, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, the full lot of them. They're farting worse than ducks. 2 British men should be at Wembley or Old Trafford. We shouldn't even not be going down the Saudi route at all, or the American route. We should be doing it here, because that's what the fans want. We've got the both champions. It's been a long time before. We've never had them before. We've got them now. We'll never have them again. And they're not capitalising on it, letting people steal it, because the English are greedy people.
Show me the money, baby!
One sport. They'll spend billions on football, and yet they can't put this great event on in the UK. They deserve it. England deserves it. It's like the second coming of the World Cup in '66. It'll be bigger than the World Cup in '66, and yet they don't want it. They make me sick, a lot of them. The British Empire make me sick. Do you think if Winston Churchill was here staging all this, we'd lose it to the foreigners? No chance. He'd want it here at all cost. You know, they're wasting billions every day on crap. They're wasting billions, locking people down every day. Crap. So why can't they put this great event on here where people can enjoy? You know, but what happens? It'll go abroad, it'll go to Las Vegas. I'm not American. I love the Americans. I'd like to go to that great country, but I'm banned for life from America. But I'm sad about that. The Americans are lovely people, but I'm a British man, I'm not an American. Tyson's British. AJ's British. Let them do the business here. And now they've got the chance to stage the biggest fight in history and letting it go abroad. Get your hand in your pocket. Shape up. The British Empire. Shape up. Stop being negative. Put your best foot forward. Call it on. Insist it being here. And don't let these cowboys, all these managers and promoters, I'm talking about Bob Arum, Frank Warren, I'm talking about them all, Eddie Hearn, Barry Hearn, don't let them steer the ship, because they'll end up creaming it anyway. Let the fans cream it this time. Let them get it. Let them enjoy it. And let them take a backward step, all them promoters. They do a fine job. Without the British fans and the fans on both sides, what have they got? I'll tell you what they've got. Nothing. You know, if they don't make this fight, they don't slap until the teeth rattle. All of them. Bob Arums, ESPN, Eddie Hearn, all of them. Queensberry, the lot, Frank Warren, BT, they all want slapping if they lose it.
Oh!
My son is a $25 million fighter without AJ. He earns millions. He's done a $100 million deal with ESPN. We don't need AJ, but what we do need is to put the record straight and let the British public and the world know who is the best man, who is the undisputed champion. After that, I've no more interest in heavyweight boxing. You're not going to say, oh, this man's going to emulate Muhammad Ali, all the heavyweight greats, would you? Nothing sets me on fire. But what I do want is to let the two men fight. Let's get the decider on, let the British public see it, let the world see it, and that's it then. It's a closed book. And I've offended everybody in the world by saying Anthony Joshua's a tune-up fight. The class of Tyson, any heavyweight in the world, apart from AJ, is a tune-up fight. Because I believe he can beat these men two at a time. I'm watching him every day. This man, my son, is a superhuman being. He's a freak of nature in the boxing division, in the boxing world. He's 6'9". He can do tricks like a circus act in the ring. You know, he can hit these people from daft handles. When they're looking on the floor, they're all over the place, bosh, they're hitting the shook. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen that quality in a fighter, you know. And I've seen them all. And I've seen AJ's last performance.
See how long you can do it. You don't want to get in no slick with you, but it's going to happen. To the water. Shot. It'll come in a minute. Just keep watching him. You turning him backhand, hit him, it's almost coming. You want to fight right? Don't know. Just poke it out there. It's exactly where he's supposed to be at.
Take the jump, straight right hand to the chest. And hit him on the chin.
Oh, yeah, well, look for it. Face you want to put him at. You got to come back in the paint in a minute. He can't do this to you. You got to fight him. Break that up. Wrong with him.
Just keep using the angles, Tyson, and a straight power jab.
You want him to cross them legs like that. That's what you're supposed to be attacking. Feinting him until he can't take the feint from you.
Nice job! Okay? When you're in the clinch, try not to hit the back of the head. I know it was a mistake.
Find out a few combinations for him, Tyson. When he comes up to you, double jab right hand, left up to the body.
Put it in that work, big dog.
And then tie him up.
When he kept that he's crossing a lot, but you got to set him. You got to know that. All right? Yeah. It's coming. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Don't worry about it. Just be fast. Be fast with your hands. Your feet gonna do all the work for you. Keep tapping them toes. Go. Get out there, make it.
Sit there. You don't know what to do. Run out of ideas. Just do what you do him. Keep the jab pumping. Keep the angles and tossing the right hand.
Just what we practice. Just what we worked on.
Use the uppercuts a bit more, Tyson. You must use your uppercut more.
Back with it. Keep twisting through your core. Don't cross your goddamn legs. Be ready to punch. Bang. Bang, you ain't gotta throw it hard.
Yeah, 2 rounds left is all.
Punches. Light punches.
6 minutes. Don't be afraid to slide in. Slide in. Quit pulling back because you're getting caught.
Box now, move like
Win
you
these
can.
2 rounds,
Go.
box him, and you won it. You've won the fight.
Stop pulling back.
Get involved.
Stop pulling back and be on balance.
Disputed.
1 round. One round.
Yeah, big dog. Keep setting that leg. You got the timing now. He just walking right behind you.
Are you got plenty in you? Tice?
He's walking right behind your timer. Look at me.
Need this round, yeah?
Look at me. Look at me. Look. I'm here. Bang, bang. I don't reach for just turn. Set the foot.
This is what it takes, Tyson.
He's not moving his head, just pushing through the middle.
Last round.
Yeah, how is Tyson? Back here and recuperating? What's his mood?
He's back here. He's, as you say, recuperating. His mood is that he wants the rematch, and that's already signed for, so that will happen.
So when will that be, Frank?
In October.
The rematch is in October in Riyadh, right?
Correct.
Okay, so everybody back out there and it all happens again.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm pleased to hear that. Because obviously I have mixed emotions about Tyson's behaviour over the last 12 months, but never doubted the ability of the fighter. So I'm really pleased that when adversities come knocking, if the claims that he's made over the years that he is the best heavyweight are to be backed up, he needs to take this rematch. He needs to come through adversity and redeem himself in the same way that Lennox Lewis did, same way that Mike Tyson did, and the same way that Muhammad Ali did at times when they suffered losses. So I'm really pleased to hear that.
Well, before you ask me any more questions, I want to answer what Simon said there about his behaviour. And I've got to be honest, and Simon and I, we have lots of discussions and so forth, and we agree on a lot of things, and there's things that I don't agree on, and him vice versa.
Indeed.
Tyson is bipolar. And if you go on the NHS website, and you're talking about the things that are said, you look on there and you look at the symptoms, and bipolar, by the way, has been the word for the last few years on manic depressive, which is a mental illness, a serious mental illness. And it includes things like mania, feeling very happy, elated, overjoyed, talking quickly, feeling full of energy, easily irritated or agitated, dealing with suicidal feelings, which without treatment, they may get stronger, as they did with him, because he was very close to that. Self-harm, not just physical self-harm, mental self-harm. And you should avoid drugs and alcohol. And as you know, it was well documented, especially when some of these things were said, which were attributed to him, which some were said and some were manipulated. But that's a fact. And then, which I think is something that's quite important for somebody who has bipolar, because my brother committed suicide, as I mentioned to you before, Simon.
Yep.
And he was borderline schizophrenic and suffering from this. And that's why I take exception to what's going down here and how easy and what these throwaway lines are about thuggish behaviour. It says making decisions or saying things that are out of character and others may see as risky or harmful. So that's what he's got, bipolar. What he hasn't done, what thugs do, thugs hit people. He's not hit anybody. Things have been said, a couple of things have been said and so forth, because you say what's in your head. I might, or you might, because we have maybe a bit of filter sometimes, say things to each other.
I understand, Frank, but does this mean that when Tyson and those around him go off with insulting and disrespectful and diminishing comments about others, everyone's just got to accept it and say, okay, Tyson Fury's got bipolar, so we just price that in. When he starts insulting people, which he does regularly, when he starts diminishing people and making personal observations about people, which he does regularly, everyone's just got to say we all must feel sorry for Tyson because he's got bipolar, and all the acolytes around him, all his management team that come out with the same sort of nonsense as well, his father's behaviour over in Saudi, everyone's just got to sit there and say, no, Tyson, we all must now price that into our thinking and give him a pass on it, Frank.
No one's saying that at all.
Well, you kind of are.
And as regarding the team, I mean, you can only talk, when you say management, he only has one manager and he only has one dad. And that, whatever they say, that's not Tyson's saying. But whatever Tyson says,
but you are judged by the company you keep, Frank, aren't you?
Asked me, let me answer the question you just asked. No, you haven't got to do that. But you should prefix it by saying he's bipolar. And what's in his head, he says, like at the end of the fight, Happy New Year. No one actually said at the end of the fight, and any of the reports, hardly any of the reports I've seen, except the guys who've been waiting to dig their knives into him, no one has said how they embraced each other, the fighters, how Tyson must have kissed him about 3 times.
Frank, I'll give you the alternate view on this. The praise for Tyson Fury over the years from certain quarters has been quite significant. And even in the article that I wrote last week, which you responded to, and one of these digital guys shoved a proportion of it under your nose and you responded to it, referred to him as charismatic, enigmatic, charming, engaging. All of those are taken as a given. And the moment criticism comes, oh, hang on a second, that's unfair. And that's what people get a bit fed up with.
Well, I'll get fed up with what you say when the headlines talks about thuggery.
Well, there was thuggery in Saudi. The language that he uses is thuggish and boorish. It is overbearing and unpalatable.
He's never, to my knowledge, been a thug outside the ring to anybody. Who's he hit?
Well, depends what you define thuggery as behaviour.
None of that's happened.
Depends what you're taking exception.
The man is an absolute consummate warrior. You couldn't leave anything in the ring more than he does in every one of these fights.
And no one's questioned that, Frank, have they?
Well, they are. Some people are dismissive of it.
Well, they're not, Frank, and you've alighted upon this and you're being remarkably defensive of it, and I understand to some extent why, but I don't feel that what you're pushing back against is unfair comment, because it is. I do hear you that certain people are jumping on the agenda because he's lost now and they can really stick the boot in, and I get that and I understand that, but I also think that there's an equitability and fairness. I think the way that, for example, if we're going to talk about vested interest, I think the way that Tyson's engaged and the ban that's been put on TalkSport is preposterous, and he's cited people like me who have been a major advocate of his over the years, a major supporter of his, because they perceive that one thing has been said. All of a sudden everything gets up. Then I have to listen to the insulting disposition about how much money I lost, what I am, what I'm not, and everyone's just got to get on with that from Tyson, and there comes a point where people get a bit fed up with it, and so Tyson has made himself fair game for this.
But you're a big boy. You should be able to take it.
I do.
You can't dish it out if you can't take it.
Correct.
And by the way,
so you dish it out, don't you?
Isn't it very? For me, I find it very simplistic. If he's continually getting stick, especially what he got from that idiot Adam Catterall, if he's getting the things that were said about him and so forth. What, he doesn't have to speak to you. There's no obligation to speak to anybody.
And that's fine.
There's a lot of fighters don't even speak to the press. And the Mal, by the way, who are constant. I mean, there's not one. There's about 3 journalists in there who keep kicking him, and that is what it is. So he doesn't speak to the Mal. That's
Frank,
his choice. By the way,
can I ask you? Frank, can I ask you?
By the way, the Mal normally get 5 million people.
The Mail's the Mail. This is TalkSport you're on. So, Frank, here's the thing. Does Tyson Fury's bipolar condition affect his mental state when it comes to reacting to criticism?
It's not criticism. It's things he comes out with. He will come out with something. And by the way, he's an
but as Simon Riley just said, sorry to jump in, Frank, but what amazed us was it, and we're not going to get into the TalkSport situation, the Simon Jordan, Jim White situation with Tyson Fury, but not that long ago, before he fought Dillian White, Simon and I waited for him in the England dressing room at Wembley. He came in. We felt we were talking to one of our best pals. He started off, Frank, by telling us how much he loves the show. He then went on to tell us how much he enjoys Simon's take on this, that, and the next. Simon's objectivity. He loved all that. And then Tyson changed. Is it because of this mental state regarding his bipolar condition that has brought about this change?
No, not at all. He's reacted to some of the things that you've
been saying. So the bipolar aspect of things has nothing to do with it then, does it?
Sorry, Jim, because you have a voice on the radio and an opinion, that doesn't mean that, that's all okay. If he takes exception to it, he has a personal choice to whether he wants to continue speaking to you or not.
And that's
fine.
He
chose not to.
And that's fine.
It.
And that means that on the flip side of that, the alternate view of how his behaviour and the reaction to what he then goes on and says and does is the precinct of people like me or Jim or other people. But you guys take exception to that. But other people can't.
No, I don't. I take exception to the fact that I know him. You don't know him. You've met him in the Wembley dressing room. I know him. I deal with him all the time. I know the type of person he is. I know what he's been through. I know seriously what he's been through, some really bad times. And what I say about that is the fact that he's officially diagnosed as being bipolar. So take that into account. All you geniuses who seem to just think you know everything. You don't know. You don't know the background. You don't know the man. And sometimes the things he said, I've cringed at a few times at some of the things he said. But I know what goes down, and I know how it is.
Yeah, but
Frank,
to jump in here, the fact of the matter,
because I had a brother who went through the similar
understood,
situation.
as you said earlier. But the fact of the matter is, Frank, we should never have ended up where it ended up, in my view. And I've been in this business. Now, hang on, Frank. I've been in this business a long time, the business of broadcasting and opinion. And you can go one moment to having a relationship with someone, as Simon and I had with Tyson, to the next minute it changes. And they ain't coming to Riyadh, and we're not talking to TalkSport. And you, as his promoter, Frank, had a duty to say to Tyson, that's ridiculous, they're coming, and you talk to them like you talk to anyone else.
No, I don't have a duty to do that at all. He's a man. He's over 21 years of age. That's up to him what he wants to do.
But you're telling us his decision-making is affected by the condition he has.
So, Jim, I'm going to go and have a row with the guy who I'm very close to. I'm going to have a row with him over you guys.
Might not have been a row.
Well, you can let me answer, because it will be a row, because he won't want to do it.
Your job's to advise.
All right, you invite me on the programme, at least hear what I've got to say.
Cool.
So you asked me to speak to him, which I did, and Liam, who's your boss, asked me. We spoke and we tried to build these bridges. We were quite close to it. Then another load of crap come out, which I didn't agree with. And I've got to be honest, I found some of the things offensive, what was said about him and what was going on. But that is what it is. Not just you, and it's not just you. It's been we've had many conversations about this. So at the end of the day, what do you think? I'm going to keep going to battle for TalkSport? No, I'm not. I'm not going.
But the crazy thing is, we have a great relationship with you, Frank. We continue to do so.
No,
you don't have to, Frank.
And you do, but
you don't have to go for battle, Frank. But you cannot. I think you know me relatively well, Frank. I'm an equitable, objective man. I stand by every single observation I've made about Tyson Fury, both good and bad. And you guys take all the compliments and none of the criticism. And it seems to me like a one-dimensional set of thinking, and I expected better. And if we're not going to get better, that's fine. It's no big deal.
Simon.
It's no big deal.
Simon, so did I from you. Because what you've not done any time in any of your columns or anything is mention that he's got bipolar.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, if I'd have written a column about Tyson Fury's medical condition, you'd have been over me like a rash.
You have not mentioned at all.
Frank, that is absolute crap, Frank.
But you know what?
If I'd have written a column about Tyson Fury's medical condition, you'd have been all over me. How dare I write about his medical condition? Yes, you would have done.
You and I are never going to agree on this, ever.
Because you're bloody wrong. And you're defending Tyson because it represents a commercial interest to you.
I wanted of course I've got a commercial interest. You've got a commercial interest.
No, I don't.
You want to buy it. You want to be controversial. You want to buy.
No, I don't, Frank. I want to call it as I see it.
On all sports, and you get paid for
it. Frank, I don't need the money from broadcasting. I do it because it engages me and interests me. It's not about commercial objectivity. It's about calling things as they really are, because most people don't. And you and your boy can't take it when it's put on your toes. You can give it out, but you can't take it.
I don't give it. Who will I give it out to?
You give it out to anybody you feel like. Up until recently, it was Eddie Hearn.
So tell me, who did I give it out to?
up until recently, it was Eddie Hearn. Now you're best pals because you've got a common interest. Let's have it right, Frank.
We are business rivals, and I've said what I've had to say, and they're well.
I just gave you an example.
At the moment, for the good of the sport, and we're making money, we're working together.
And fair play, and no one's got a problem with it. But don't get holier than thou, Frank.
And all the fights that you and certainly Adam have complained about not being made are being
but
made.
that's cobblers, Frank. The only thing that was ever Frank. Let's deal in facts, Frank. Right? The only thing that was ever said about your boy was that fact that when Usyk's camp said he doesn't want to fight.
No, you're talking about Eddie Hearn. We've done that. Now let's get.
But going back to what's
what's
said, Frank, deal in facts. You've had plenty to say about Eddie Hearn because you wanted an example of who you've fallen out with and who you get critical of. Right now, go back to Fury and look at the relationship and what's happened there. The reasons why everyone got the needle about it is not because we questioned the fact that Usyk had said that Tyson had ducked the fight. No, I didn't say he ducked it. Never said it once. I asked the question. It was then put to Tyson through some digital forum, and it came up when we were criticising the Saudi phenomenon, when we talked about the WBC heavyweight champion of the world going in with an MMA fighter. All of a sudden, 6 months ago, someone said something that no one picked up on, and now they're picking up on it because everyone doesn't want the Saudi situation upset by a bunch of British media. That's where it all started from, and that's where the problem has developed from.
Not at all. We didn't want to talk to you long before Saudi. That's not true.
Cobblers, Frank.
It's not cobblers.
Cobblers.
Nobody said here, Frank. Nobody said here that there was never a suggestion from anyone here, as well as Simon. I worked so closely with him, that Tyson was going to duck anything. Frank, actually, while you're online, can we just establish something? We absolutely adore, and do you know what? I was so proud, Frank. Frank, I'm not going to shout over you. Don't you shout over me, Frank? I was so proud of the relationship that we had with Tyson. That we did nothing. Hang on, I'm not finished. That we did nothing. Simon and I did nothing,
Jim,
to affect that relationship.
That Saturday night happened. And what we're not doing at the moment is talking about the fight, which I hope we will be able to in a moment. The fact of life is, you are not in a position, nor is it going to happen, that he wants to build any bridges with you. It's done.
Couldn't care less.
And that's it. But I'm not bringing it up. You're bringing it up.
No, you brought up the situation around his medical condition, and we commented on it.
He doesn't have an obligation to speak to anybody.
No, of course not.
Don't want to.
Of course
and
not.
That's fine. And nobody has a
you
problem
began
with it.
today, Frank, by telling us about this medical condition that he's been suffering from.
Of course, because I'm looking at stories.
I asked you post a grueling fight with Usyk,
being a thug and so forth, and about the things that he said, and I'm explaining to you what happens with somebody who is diagnosed with bipolar.
But you're using it as an excuse. I wrote an article, Frank. You're commenting on what I've written, Frank. I wrote an article, an 800-word article, which criticised in praise and equal measure. And all you want to do is whine about some commentary, which I think is actually fair. I think some of the things that comes out of his mouth and the people that he chooses to have around him are exactly the way I've described it. And I don't think it's unfair, and I think we should probably move on from it and talk about the reality of what Tyson did in the ring on Saturday night.
Yeah, and please, let's do that, because, as I say, we are not going to agree on that. The man is diagnosed
and we've got it, Frank.
Condition, and but you should have got it beforehand. You should go on the NHS website and look at it.
Rubbish.
So about 18 or 19 minutes ago, Frank, 19 minutes ago, I asked you how your fighter was after losing in Riyadh. Oh, you went on to tell us about this medical condition.
No, I didn't.
So you told us there's going to be a rematch in October, but how is he after the loss that he suffered? His first career loss.
He's disappointed, and as I said at the start of the program, he's very disappointed. You know, he's got his view on what the fight, how it ended. And a few people have there's differing views. The majority in the favour of the fact that Usyk won the fight, and it was a great fight. And it was a great fight, as I said, because there was two warriors in there who gave everything, never left anything behind, and it was probably the best heavyweight fight of this century. There's no doubt about that. It's a great fight. Two guys at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And
Tyson said he won it, Frank. Do you think he did?
I thought he just won it, and I mean, tell me, it was a fight of two halves. How did you score the first half of the fight?
I think between rounds 1 and 4, I think it was probably 3-1 Usyk. And then I thought Tyson took over for 3 rounds, and I thought he was outstanding. And I think Usyk was so clever. I think he made Tyson work so hard. When Tyson wasn't in ascendancy, he worked hard. When he was in ascendancy, he worked hard. And I think Usyk stepped on the gas. And I think fatigue played a part in Tyson, because I was surprised at the lack of punch resistance in the 9th round. But I thought it was a brilliant fight. I thought Tyson's performance was brilliant at times. But I didn't see from Tyson what I expected to see. I didn't see the menace from him that I've seen in previous fights. When I saw him walk into the ring with Deontay Wilder, the sort of darkness behind Tyson's eyes didn't seem to be there. And I was surprised that a lot of things about Tyson's build up to the fight. But I thought it was a brilliant fight, and I thought he did at times brilliantly in it.
Yeah, I did. I see the early part of the fight. I thought he lost the first round, and I think there might have been one shed, and up until the 6th round, he was, on my scoring, it was the worst case was 4-2, and then he won the 7th, and all the judges gave it that way, except for one judge who had it a draw going into the 6th round. So I don't get that.
Did you have it 4-2 to Tyson or 4-2 to Usyk as worst case?
To Tyson.
Oh, did you? All right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did, and like Teddy Atlas, people who who are certainly who I've got a lot of respect for, and in the game. The same thing. It was I don't think there was anything in it. I think it could have gone either way. I think obviously that 9th round was a 10-8, and I had him winning the 10-8 round. Sorry, the 7th round 10-9. I was giving the 10-8 round to Usyk as well. 10-9 the 10th round. 10-9.
Did he break his nose, Tyson? Did Tyson break his nose?
I gave the 12th round to Tyson, and he showed what a warrior is. I mean, how he come back from it, I do not know. But what the troubling thing was, that 7th round, he got hit on the nose, and he had a problem with his nose. He kept touching it, and he sort of lost his concentration a bit. And after Usyk going back at the end of the 7th round, after taking some real shots, and he didn't look too good going back. I mean, there's a couple of moments in that fight where I thought, and a lot of people around the ringside thought that it was he was going to get shot.
Frank, where is it now, do you think, in the conversation of being a generational great?